$5 million. That's what a handful of people turned $10,000 into. Not with a lottery ticket, not with luck, with a decision most people never even consider. I spent the last few months studying how holding companies quietly turn small amounts of cash into empires. Real estate syndicates, franchise roll-ups, the unglamorous businesses nobody brags about at dinner parties. And I found the same pattern over and over again. Stick with me for the next 2 minutes, because by the end, you'll understand exactly why $10,000 is either the most useless amount of money you'll ever hold or the most powerful. It depends entirely on what you do in the next 60 seconds after you get it. Here's the problem. Most people who get $10,000 do the same thing. They pay off a little debt. They upgrade their car. Maybe they take a trip they've been deserving. A new couch shows up. A better phone. A vacation with a filter-worthy sunset. 6 months later, the money is gone. And they're exactly where they started, just with nicer stuff. Sound familiar? Here's the twist nobody tells you.
That's not bad luck. That's not bad math. That's a bad question. Because the question isn't, what can $10,000 buy me? The question isn't, what can $10,000 become? Those are two completely different games, and almost nobody plays the second one. Let's talk about why. Your brain is wired to treat money like food. When food shows up, ancient instinct says, eat it now, because tomorrow it might be gone. For most of human history, that instinct kept us alive. But money isn't food. Money doesn't spoil. Money can sit, multiply, and grow teeth of its own. The people who get wealthy aren't smarter than you. They just overrode that instinct, on purpose, every single time. Here's where it gets interesting. $10,000 sitting in a regular savings account earns you about $400 a year. That's a nice dinner. Twice. $10,000 put into index funds averaging historical market returns becomes roughly $100,000 over 30 years. That's real. That's math. Nobody's lying to you there. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. The people who turned $10,000 into 6 or 7 figures in a fraction of that time didn't do it by saving harder. They did it by buying leverage.
Let me explain what that actually means, because it's simpler than it sounds. Imagine 2 people. Both have $10,000. Person 1 puts it in a savings account. Slow, safe, predictable. Person 2 uses it as a down payment on a small rental duplex worth $200,000. The bank puts up the rest. If that property goes up just 10% in value, Person 1 made $1,000. Person 2 made $20,000 on the exact same 10% move. That's leverage. You're not just growing your money. You're growing money you don't even own yet. This is the actual loophole, if you want to call it that. It's not hidden. It's not illegal. It's just uncomfortable, because it means using debt on purpose, strategically, instead of running from it. Wealthy families have used this exact structure for 100 years. Buy an asset with borrowed money. Let the asset pay off the debt. Keep the asset. But here's the part that stops most people cold. Leverage cuts both ways. If that same property drops 10%, Person 2 doesn't just lose nothing. They can lose their entire $10,000 and still owe money on top of it.
This is exactly why most people who try this without understanding it get wiped out. And exactly why the ones who succeed spend more time studying the downside than daydreaming about the upside. Rich people aren't reckless. They're just calculated in a way that looks reckless from the outside. Let's go deeper, because this is where it gets really interesting. The wealthiest operators don't even use their own $10,000 for the actual leverage. They use it to buy control. Here's what I mean. A holding company doesn't need to own 100% of a business to control it. Sometimes 10 or 15% paired with the right agreement is enough to sit on the board, direct decisions, and collect a slice of everything that business generates. $10,000 won't buy you Amazon,
but it can absolutely buy you a real stake in a small, boring, profitable local business. A laundromat, a vending machine route, a small storage facility. Boring businesses are where quiet fortunes are actually built. Nobody makes a documentary about a guy who owns 11 vending machines, but that guy might be clearing more monthly income than most 9-to-5 salaries.
Here's the psychological piece almost nobody talks about. Boring feels bad. Boring doesn't post well on social media. Boring doesn't get you compliments at a party. But boring compounds. Flashy spends. Boring builds. The uncomfortable truth is that the version of you that gets wealthy is often less exciting to be around for the first few years. Fewer new things. More reinvestment. More no to stuff that feels good right now. That's the actual price of turning $10,000 into something bigger. Not risk, restraint. So here's the aha moment. $10,000 was never really about the $10,000. It was a test. A test of whether you can delay a feeling now for a result later. A test of whether you see money as fuel or money as reward. The people who turn small amounts into massive outcomes pass that test quietly, over and over, in decisions nobody's watching. Reinvesting the profit instead of spending it. Buying the asset instead of the upgrade. Choosing boring over exciting again and again until boring becomes rich.
Here's your practical takeaway, and I want you to actually remember this one. Before you spend your next windfall, no matter how small, ask yourself one question. Am I buying a feeling or am I buying leverage? A feeling disappears in a weekend. Leverage compounds for decades. You don't need $10,000 to start thinking this way. You need it with the next $100 that hits your account. Practice the instinct now, so when the real amount shows up, the decision is already automatic. Because here's the truth hiding underneath everything I just told you. Money doesn't change people. It reveals them. Give someone $10,000 and you'll find out in about a week whether they were built to consume or built to compound. So the real question was never what would you do with $10,000? It's who are you already becoming right now with what you already have. That's the person who eventually turns 10,000 into 10 million. Not the money, the identity behind it.